And it's an interesting thing about that is the fact that I spent 90% of my day putting up fences, and
Hmm.
it was literally just me and my father discussing politics, and there was no time to meditate or anything. We discussed politics for literally 4 hours straight while putting up a fence. And there's no meditate or anything. And then I come home and I get on my dirt bike, and then I'm just struck with this fucking ingenious idea that like it just put the capstone on this framework. I understand this framework so much better now that I got this idea. And the funny thing is I'm seeing it demonstrated clearly in things like just things as simple as like Gay Sex Legends. Like I just like the last two games I played, I did more than double what either one of my teammates did because the game is a ranking system game. So it's placing me with teammates who are as good as I was yesterday. But the thing is my framework has made me so much better today that I'm now doing over literally the last two games combined. If you took both of my teammates, which are there's only three people on the team, if you took both of my teammates and you combined their damage, they did less than me because I was just shitting on everybody's forehead. And it's like if you were to clip me today versus me yesterday, I mean, there's no comparison. I was hitting beams. I never hit beams. There's never been a point in my life which I hit beams. And it's so funny
You
because
do what?
hit
Hit what?
beams, a beam, what a beam means is in Apex Legends you have a lot of health. Like a lot. Like for instance, you need to hit like between 8 and 12 bullets depending on the level of armor they have, which for most games right, that's a lot. And even in Apex, you only have about 19 bullets per clip. So you need to sink over half of your clip. So what a beam is a beam is when you hit every single bullet that's flying out of your gun. A beam is when you literally don't miss a single bullet. It's something that like the pros do all the time. It's something that after years of playing Apex Legends I've never been capable of doing. And tonight I just turned it on and just finally, for the first time in my life, was capable of hitting these nasty, disgusting beams which made me look like a literal pro player. Like I was doing shit that I couldn't have even dreamed of doing before. Like hitting a full beam with the Volt, which is a gun I'm not great with, haven't been great with this season. Then I switch out to my pistol, hit pistol shots, duck behind cover, come back out with my SMG, and just beam like just two kids in a row, just eat their ass, just spread it, gape it wide, and just go to them. Like just shit that I'm truly not capable of doing any time before today. It's very interesting. Like literally took me to the pro levels, and I mean it just goes to show that it's like what those pros are doing is they're just tapping into like that sport side of their brain, that like the meditation part of their brain, the one part of their brain. Anyway, aside from
Yeah,
that,
they're just unconsciously doing it, where they're just their mind is doing it for them. They don't have to think about it. They're just the skill is just inherently there.
yeah, yeah. And it's very interesting too because I've always approached video games extremely left brain, like trying to think out, like think about where my reticle is going, and now it just like blows. Okay, so anyway, to get to what the framework discovery was, is it's it's okay. It's really confusing. Obviously the typical Erdo language. This one's not even as confusing as other ones have been, but still, I don't really get how to convert the language yet, but should get it out first to talk about. So let's see. So the framework is truly condensed down into one action, like truly, like there's no more story. It's literally just go time. And how I did that was it's. So here's just a few things that I've been getting over the past few days. Just put it in context. It feels like you were trying to simulate the entire multiverse. The whole universe should move with you. Okay, so I really like that one. That one's cool, and it is what it feels like. It's like you're trying to understand exactly what I mean. It's just the classic in relation to infinite, in relation to God. I mean, that's always been what frameworks are. They're just trying to be like, how close can you get it? How well can you get that down? What is the best formula to get that down? And before it's done with mythology. Um, so the next one is just basically what I already said, which is what we were trying to create is the perfect in relation to God. That's another way of thinking about it. Um, I don't know what word realistic was supposed to be, but make realistic emerge out of difference. You can feel the nuances of this reality clashing with their reality. Yeah. So it's saying the same thing. It's like it's that this reality, what this reality is, and how you experience it, and how you love it is what it is in relation to everything else. Not on the merit of what it is, but on the merit of almost what it isn't. That's why it's so good. You know what I mean? Um.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh. Ujulak
Then what
Ujulak.
was the What you said, the universe should move with you. Can
Yeah,
you elaborate on that?
it's saying the exact same thing that all of the rest of them are saying, which is just that you're trying to simulate the entire, like whenever you look at that tree and you're trying to see what that tree feels like through the framework, what you're trying to do is you're trying to see that tree perfectly in relation to every other thought texture that's ever existed in the mind of God. And it's like, and the same thing when it's like, if you're moving, if you're punching the bag, if you're moving forward, if you're doing any sort of movement, you want to move, and you want the entire universe to move with you. You want the entire universe to be simulated. You want, in other words, in every moment, you want every single other thing which exists to be contradicting. You want to understand perfectly what the difference it emerges out of, and that's what that means. It's the exact same thing as perfect in relation to God. It's saying that you need the entire universe to understand what this is.
Yes. Okay.
The next one is Ujulacum is supposed to denote thought text ooze, which means okay. So anyways, you already know that one. Okay, so now, but anyways, to get to the discovery, which really I think is the catalyst of everything, it's this one right here. God, the story is only the answer to the questions which stop you from eating. Okay, so let's read that again with more.
Right. Could you write that down in chat so I can look at it?
Oh sure. But it's not that complicated once you hear me say it. But I will
I
do
just
that.
want to look at it.
Yeah. But to explain, I'm copying it. God, the story, those are supposed to mean the same thing because it's like they are the same thing. Obviously, like what the story is trying to do is capture God. Um, so God, the story, those are the exact same thing. You call them either one. Is only the answer to the questions which stop you from eating. And now, what that means, what that actually practically means, is that you should never. So, here's one way of putting it. This is the most simple way of putting it, but this isn't actually the most accurate way of putting it. The only time you should ever use Uzilatram, i.e., the only time you should ever think of what God is, the only time you should actually actively be left brain thinking about God, which is what Uzilatram is, that's what the story is. Your left brain thinking, trying to get to the right brain conception of God, right? The only time you should be doing this is when you have something which is stopping you from eating, which is sort of obvious and something that I was on the verge of realizing all along, but this is deeper than that. This means something deeper than that, and that is that like like what God, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like it's this super superfluous, super efficient framework because it's like you're either eating or you're not eating, and that needs to be solved by your conception of God. And it's like, first of all, it's very simple, but this isn't even summarizing what it actually like how unbelievably beautiful it actually is in motion because it's not just that it's there's now clear borders between always what you're supposed to be doing, and that's first of all that I mean this is the first finished framework, like finished, like I don't even know where I would polish it next. I don't even know what direction to move in with it next. This framework has one step. There's no story. There's no way to change. There's nothing to change. It literally is just either you're eating, either you are God consuming reality, or you are not properly understanding that you are God consuming reality, and now you need to understand exactly what that means. And you don't even understand it with a story. You just understand it by literally thinking about, okay, what is why am I not eating right now? Okay, fix that with my conception of God. Literally, just you already know. Like for us, like we already know why that. What in other words, here's a better way to explain it. Right? You you aren't capable of in that exact moment feeling like something's perfect. Right? Or in other words, you aren't capable of eating. Right? In that moment, you are not eating. Right? And so there is typically you're going to have some sort of issues somewhere along the lines of like not being able. It's basically not being able to understand why something's perfect. Not being able to eat something and not being able to understand why it's perfect. Those are pretty much the exact same thing. And the reason those are pretty much the exact same thing is because like essentially when you are God, right, everything is perfect and you're eating everything. And when you are not capable of eating something, it's because you have this human conception, which is like this versus this. All right, I'm not capable of appreciating this song because this song has not earned its right to be appreciated versus the merits of the other songs of the same category which I've listened to, right? That's the human perspective. And then the God perspective, the way that you'd fix that, and this is essentially what Script was talking about, where it's like you should never have a thought which isn't from the perspective of God, right? You should never have a thought. That's what Script was basically saying. Is it's like you should rewrite your entire ego, and Trevor should not be able to think. Trevor should constantly being blocked off and rewritten into thinking from God's perspective. And that's what this is saying, where it's like you like if ever things are not perfect and your brain isn't silent and you aren't just consuming reality, intimately consuming reality, if that isn't the case, well then you just need to understand what in your brain is thinking about things from a human perspective, compare that thing to everything else which could possibly exist, and then instantly you will understand that it's just like it is a thought texture. And it's like it's fractions of seconds. It's fractions of seconds. We're no longer talking about 1 second to 2 second startup domain. We're talking about fucking milliseconds at this point to start it up, and I can start it up several times a day. Fucking getting ataraxy to music, like getting religious tremors to music. It's so fucking simple. Oh, the breathing is still a part of it, by the way. But like literally, like that's the only separation you possibly make is that now there's breathing, and of course, when you're doing breathing right, there isn't even a separation. But so now the only separation you can have is that there's breathing, and then there's eating, and that's really the only two parts of the framework. And then if you're not eating, then you're using something adjacent to what we used to
and
call the story. But it isn't the story. It's
and
literally just your understanding of God. Now continue. What were you saying?
but like, isn't it like if you're eating right, you'd be noticing the breath in the first place? So it's almost like the two go hand in hand.
Now I don't know. Yeah, okay, kind of, but also there are moments which like I am eating and I'm not focusing on breathing, and those moments are worse. And it's like the breathing. I am gonna need to study that over the next few days because the breathing still does do something, like something particular, like and now I guess. Mm,
But then I should say eating the max, like eating, feasting. You know, eating as much as you can, eating as
yes,
aware as possible.
that is correct. Yes, if you are ever in the max eating, if you are ever in black hole, which or white hole, let's say, because white hole was always the transformation of black hole. So if you're ever in white hole, the moment in which you're purely eating, then yes, you'll already be tracking your breathing because you will already be just as you said, feasting. It's like literally you can't get enough. You're beautifully into your breath and the visuals and the sounds, and they're literally not even different things anymore. They're not even different senses. They're just this meshing of thought textures in which every single nuance you understand perfectly how fucking beautiful it is in comparison to everything else. Dude, this framework is so fucking good. It's so good. It's so good. So are you doing sub one this Friday? Are you is that this Friday the first
This
of the month?
Friday, um, let's see.
Yeah, it would have had to have
It, it it is September 12th, which would be Monday.
been. Wait, Monday.
uh, yeah, it's
Oh,
Monday. That's what.
yeah, your days don't work like that. Anyways, Friday is I see. Like to me, I think of it because I this is always how I did someone was it was based on the last time I did it, and I would count weeks based on just the 7 days. So to me, it's like a month is when it's 4 weeks from the last Friday. That to me is a month. I don't think of months as like September, October, January. You know what I mean? Like I think of it more
I
months.
yeah, the way I think of months is usually just like whatever the calendar says it is,
Yeah,
and I'll just look at
yeah,
it at the moment.
yeah. But if you think about it mathematically, you're going to get virtually the same results, and then also you don't have to memorize the months of the year, which I still don't know the months of the year in order.
Yeah, but you have, as far as the calendar goes, you've been incorrect twice, and we've only talked about the calendar like twice.
Not twice. It was once in the exact same capacity. Well, other than the fact that you said like just now that could be considered incorrect, but in my opinion, no, that wouldn't be because I was still mathematically correct. That would be 4 weeks from last
Well, I'm saying we were previously talking about the date of September 12th, and we were assuming we were talking about the same thing, and you were thinking it was Friday, but what I was thinking was Monday. So I don't care, but I'm just saying.
time.
Um,
Yeah, but
uh,
but I mean, it's been a month basically is what I'm saying. It's like
yeah,
there's
it's been
because
it's been it's been a little while.
yeah. Well, I'm doing it Friday most likely. Here's my dilemma: is my dirt
Yeah.
bike it's dying. It's dying, and it's very
Oh,
sad. It's literally where I've created all of these beautiful things. The good thing is that the framework is finally in a state where undeniably the last few days it's been rainy. It's raining right now as I'm speaking to you, and for the first time in my life, I just don't care. Like my dirt bike just is never it not it's never it isn't as important as it's ever been because I'm just so enlightened now that it's like I can just do everything that I used to do, but just without a dirt bike. I don't need that anchor. I
yeah.
don't need that constant stability. I now have just like overcome my ADHD, and I would like to have a dirt bike. Obviously, it's my main mode of transportation.
This fascinating character development right there.
Yeah. I mean, it is just because of the framework. The framework is now at such a complete state where I just don't. I mean, truly, I have transcended like how I always imagined transcending. Like everything is better. I'm just better at everything. I like communicating with grandparents. I dominate in the wide group. Same head. I dominate. Like truly, I went over to Nana's and Papa's house, and this was even in the when the framework was in a more infantile state than this, but this was like within last week. So still great, like better than it's ever been. And I fucking dominated them at their own stupid grandparent small talk game. You know what I mean? Just like you're
Yeah,
just
that's
so in the moment. You're
honestly,
just
I've noticed the same thing with my parents as well. It's like just going with their frequency.
yeah, and then
So
actually beating them at their own frequency game. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it is crazy, but in every, I mean, just in every possible capacity. Like, yeah, I mean, literally, I got cataracty washing down my back from just looking at my phone. Like, just like I've never in my life been capable of doing that before. Like while on my phone and I'm like typing notes. Typically, I always have to go into a left brain state to do that. But now it's like even that is just innumerably beautiful. The thought textures, like and you know what it feels like. You know what it feels like when you're running this framework and you're looking at a phone. It feels like when you're on sub one, and the phone actually becomes what it should be, which isn't this like left brained like like another like piece of your left brain is basically what a phone becomes to most people. You know what I mean? Because it's like everything you do, you're doing a direct task, which means it's a direct extension of your left brain, and you're thinking directly about what you're doing on the phone. And that's typically what it is, and that is what it was for me even uh, before I had this framework finished. And it's like that's what looking at a phone used to be because I always went out of my framework to look at my phone, quickly type whatever I was going to type, and then had to put that down and then go back to it because my frameworks were just not good enough to make it where it's like, well, it takes 5 seconds to boot up, and I can lose it from typing. It's not worth the amount of time it would take to just like sit there and work on it while I'm typing. It's like I just need to type whatever I'm fucking typing and then go back to meditating. You know what I mean? But it's like now it's so good, it's so flawless, it's so fast that it's like there's no delays, there's no lag points, there's no effort put into it. There is no exertion. It just is. It just my conception of God, my truth of God, has become superfluous with the act of the framework. And there's no thoughts, there's no left brain version, there's no story, there's no nothing. It just is eating, it just is feasting. And it makes it where, like, when I'm on my phone, I can see my phone. Like that's the best way to explain it. You know how we were talking about where when you're left in your left brain you can't even see shit? Like most of like 99% of the time when you're on a screen, you're not even fucking seeing it. You're just thinking about what you're doing on it so hard that it just disappears. And now I can actually see the light brick in my hand while I'm using it's bizarre the amount of differences in just the last day, like the last few hours after
it's like the full embodiment of like non-doing, as the Taoist said.
yeah. I mean, you know what it is, and truly, and this is where I got it from. I mean, there's no way I could have made these discoveries that I've made. There's absolutely 0% chance that I could have made them without sub one. Well, I don't want to say that. It's not a 0% chance. It was almost an inevitable track since the first time I did sub one. So it's not like I needed sub one beyond that first point. But I'll put it this way: it would have taken me 40 fucking years if we didn't
Yeah,
do like those two sub ones, those sub 1 month back to back to back to back where I had to study it and study interdimensional super soldier, which is one of the main things that led to this. And it's like, and like I said, we're like I was on a track saying before. You know what it is? It's sub fucking one. This is bottled sub one. This is truly the acid framework. Like no other one ever has been before. Like the only thing you're missing is the visuals. Frankly, the only thing you're missing is the visuals. I mean, of course, there is. You're missing the like extreme metaphysical confusion and like forced perspective change that someone has. But other than that, as far as like actual noticeable effects on like the way you live your life and the way you interact with the world, it really is not that different from someone. It's so fascinating.
yeah, it's amazing to be like having thoughts, and it's like that reminds me of sub one, and
Yeah, and
just
just
being
having these
just
thoughts. Go ahead.
no, you guys.
I was just like just having these incredibly complex thoughts, like these thoughts that are like half visual, half story, half meaning. They manifest themselves as like these incredibly complex, swirling fractals. It's just these bizarre thoughts that are like not even just sub one, but just psychedelic, so psychedelic in nature. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. On that idea, I had this visual of like this of a I guess it's sometimes just multiverse, but like specifically with the connotation of its living, breathing conscious aspect of it and just seeing how alive it is, and it was just so shocking, that my little brain could see or at least symbolize something so huge.
Yeah, that's the basically the thrashing, which just made me think back to the fact that it's like, man, dude, the thrashing. If I could have understood the thrashing, I could have turned like the thrashing isn't different from the grammar. The thrashing isn't an outdated concept now. It's just that the thrashing has been adopted into this newer framework, which is just very interesting because the thrashing, of course, was also a part of someone. Damn, dude. We gotta get a fucking IV drip of that shit. That's that's the golden metaphysical stuff right there.
An IV drip of someone just always in our system. We're just walking around in a wheelchair, just got that like tied up to us.
That Hector Salamanca drip.
Yeah. We're just always meditating in a little wheelchair. Got a little bell to ring.
But